cost of gas, about 25%.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Father, as we come to you tonight, we give you thanks, Lord, for the city of Jackson. We thank you, Lord, for our administration, this council, our first responders, all those, Lord, that help with the services in Jackson. We just continue to pray over this city, and we ask, Lord, that you continue to prosper it. We give you praise and glory for all that you do in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Good evening. Welcome to Jackson City Council, our regular session on February 13th. We will begin with roll call. Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Here.
Ondera.
Here.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters. Newkirk. Crabtree. Bott.
Yesterday, I received a text from HD. HD is out of town. He is actually in California, but he was hoping or thought he would be back in time for tonight's meeting. But unfortunately, as most of us know, flights are ever changing anymore, and so his flight got changed, and so he's unable to be here this evening. So the chair would entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Crabtree.
I'll move to excuse him.
Mr. Peters, is there a second? Mr. Ondera, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. At this time on our agenda, we have recognitions. Mayor Evans?
I do have something I'd like to share with council tonight. The city of Jackson received this a week or so ago from the auditor of state. I'd mentioned at the last meeting how we had got the results of a pretty nice audit back for the year 21, which was a time when the city auditor's office went through a lot of change. But we received this last week, and I wanted to share it with you. It's a certificate from the State of Ohio Auditor, Keith Faber, and it's for outstanding achievement in open and transparent government, presented to the city of Jackson for the year 2021. So just wanted to share that all with you. We've mentioned before how what a great job our auditor's office did coming through that difficult time. And we really wasn't expecting this, but it's really good to get it. And it starts at the auditor's office, but it takes, it includes the work of everyone else too, because they audit everything. And so just proud that the city of Jackson was given this, and wanted to share it with you all. That's all.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. We have two folks who are signed up to speak to us this evening. So we will allot 3 minutes apiece. First, Angelia Hill from Superior Sanitation is asked to speak to us this evening. So go ahead, Angelia.
Hello, my name is Angelia. I grew up here in Jackson. I'm the owner of Superior Sanitation, which is a local porta potty company. We're actually based in the middle of Wellston. And I came tonight to discuss your sewer rates. Your sewer rates doubled from 5 cents a gallon to 10 cents a gallon the 1st of January. I have talked to Mr. Swartkamer and I have talked to Randy Evans and voiced my concern. I do understand why that increase happened. You guys are getting a lot of outside sewage from other places than Jackson County. Me being the small business, Jackson is where I dump 90% of my sewage. So when you guys increase that rate to 10 cents a gallon, it hurt us bad. So I came tonight to just ask if there's a way that you guys could look at that. Typically, my truck holds 300 gallon. So when I go to dump, I'm dumping 300 gallon, which used to cost $5, $10, now it costs 30. So I was just trying to see if there was something we could do to make a porta potty rate something a little cheaper, versus so you can still leave the commercial rates, the large price, so you're not getting all that outside sewage. But if there was something we could do to help the small business, I'm just really small business, trying to keep my costs down for all my customers and if there's anything you guys can do.
Comments, questions?
You want to respond?
Yeah, go ahead, if you want to.
I feel for you. I want to make it clear, because I know council, that she's talking about when outside people come in and dump at the sewer plant. We're not talking about the sewer rates that our city citizens pay, because they haven't been changed. But the fee was raised a couple of years ago. You guys give that authority to the service director, and the water and sewer people in conjunction, I think it was maybe first of the year, maybe even.
Yeah, it was.
They did raise the dumping fees for outside people bringing sewer to the sewer plant. That's what she's talking about. I'm not sure what all went into that, the reasoning for that. We're certainly willing to take another look at it for where those rates were increased. I feel for how that hurt you, and I'm not sure how we compare to others around. I know you'd give me some of that.
I can give you those if you would like those. So currently, you can dump in Waverly for 2 cents a gallon. Galplus is 5 cents a gallon, and Chillicothe is 3 cents a gallon. I have an application in at Rio, and she said it kind of depended on the rates, but typically Rio would go from a penny a gallon to 2 cents a gallon, somewhere around in there. They haven't let any outside companies dump before, so they had to have a meeting to discuss what prices they were going to charge.
I do know for council just that their sewer plant supervisor and David were concerned about the amount that we were getting. It seemed like we were getting a lot more than used. And of course, they never really know what's in that either.
There's a risk.
Industrial. So that's part of the reason I know. I don't know everything else, but we're certainly willing to take another look at it and try to help you out in your situation.
Yes, and I do understand, and I did talk to Kenny over at the wastewater treatment plant, because he said a huge part of that was the 1 month Ron Evans, they have the great big sewer trucks. They brought in like somewhere around 60,000 gallons of sewage. So it overflowed the wastewater treatment plant. So that is my understanding, a big part of why the cost was raised. But, and that's why I wanted to come and discuss, because I typically dump 300 gallon twice a week. So the winter months, anywhere from 300 to 600 gallons a week gets dumped. Summer months, I could get up to 1,000 gallons, but it just kind of depends on the business and how many porta potties we have rented out.
And one of the things that our people said too, just trying to give you all more information, was we're not in the business, to treat outside sewer from other sources. We're in the business to treat sewer generated by our citizens. So that's just another part of it. But we certainly want to try to take care of our local businesses if we can in doing that. So that's all part of what we'll take a look at again, see if we need to change anything again.
I greatly appreciate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angelia. Mr. Antler, we'll give you 3 minutes.
Okay. Hopefully it won't take that long. I planned on being down here a long time before this, but I just want to come down, thank everyone for correcting the one-way situation at southwest end of Bridge Street. And the the stop signs there seem to be working great. I know there's conflict everywhere you go about everything, but it seems to be working real well. It slowed traffic down, racing down past my house too, try and beat the light there. It's a Stein now, so they have to stop. But just wanted to come down and thank everybody for taking care of that, and to mention how nice the new blacktop and sidewalks and all that's looking. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Antler. Appreciate it.
Dan, I will say, he said we corrected the situation. That's going to be depending on who you ask.
Well,
But we always,
Facebook, all you gotta do is get on Facebook, it's there.
but we're always going to do what we think is the best thing, and if someone proves us wrong, we're willing to change, but we're always going to try to do the right thing.
Correct.
And whether it's the most popular or not.
I would like to thank Mr. Antler for bringing the concern. Lots of times people sit back and don't participate in the process. So you definitely knocked on neighbors' doors, brought a petition in, and that's kind of how all this works. So I
I
appreciate it.
talked to a few of the neighbors recently too. You don't see many of them out, but when I catch one out, I'll ask them, and they all appreciate it too.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for coming on.
Anything
Right
else?
about
Okay, so next we'll move on into the approval of the minutes. Each of you should have a copy in your packet. This is from the January 23rd meeting. Any corrections, objections to the minutes as presented to council? Being none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Mr. Newkirk, motion second. Mr. Bob, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Next, we'll move on to the committee reports, and we'll begin with Mr. Ondera, Utility.
No report?
Thank you, Mr. Ondera. To Ms. Colby, Budget and Finance.
No report.
Thank you, Ms. Colby. Mr. Foster, Police, Fire, and Traffic.
I have no report.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Mr. Peters, Service.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Mr. Reed, Auditor's Report.
The only thing I'd like to mention, we have an ordinance tonight setting up another fund in the budget. And what this fund is doing, we're continuing to move and use our software to trying to get to its full extent of value to us. So we are setting up and asking council, I'm not even sure that we had to, but I wanted to anyway. It's a payroll account, and it lets us clear everything in one account. So it will keep track of all withholdings, it will keep track of everything, the time it's paid out, which makes it much simpler in an audit situation. It's something that our office has never utilized, but we're going to move forward with that, and I think it will help us in the auditing process. It's just another step forward, so we're trying to do what we can, and I appreciate council's support on that, and we'll explain a little bit more if you've got questions when we get to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Kirby?
I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Chief Hinch?
No report.
Thank you, Chief Hinch. Mayor Evans?
I'll give you some project updates. One of them we'll talk about a little bit more tonight. The Mill Street Water and Sewer work. They've begun preliminary work and ran into a big issue right off the bat, practically day one. But there's an ordinance about that later. We'll talk about it. We've prepared a punch list of things that didn't suit us on the, or weren't completed yet on the Mitchell to Wood Sewer job. We've been working on that in the last week or so. Curb work continues over on East Broadway. I think David's got a couple updates on the other ODOT projects that I didn't get back to him on yet today. We have put together a preliminary list for this year's street paving, and have met and going to meet again, trying to coordinate that work with Columbia Gas to try to get ahead of them as much as possible on the work where they're replacing the gas lines in town too. Any input that any council wants to give our office on street paving, now's the time. There's a lot of streets that need paved. We can't do them all again this year. And some of the worst ones we may not be doing because of gas work this year or next year. Gas year that's 3 or 4 years down the road, we just kind of got to overlook. They don't even know what that is yet, but we're at least trying to coordinate with the gas company on the upcoming work that they are aware of. I want to mention a couple grants, because you guys are always approving for us to go for these grants. There's a couple new ones that we received notice of that you guys had given us permission to apply for. There was a safety grant that I know David mentioned before about some portable traffic signals for when we're working curb work or whatever along the streets to help make it safer and reduce the need for flaggers. We received a $40,000 grant for that, and we'll move forward with that. Also, there was an ODNR grant we had applied for to get Marks radios for the fire department, and we received $10,000 there, and that'll go together with another grant we'd received, where we'll be upgrading the radio systems for the fire department. That's all good stuff. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions for the mayor? Mr. Peters?
how do we see the list? Are you gonna send that out to us? You gonna?
Ken, we can send you the preliminary list. Yep.
The only, Mr. President?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the only other thing we talked about before is sealing some of the new pavement. I noticed that State Street is pretty rough already on the new pavement. I know there's brick under that, and in some places it's, like, the pavement's probably thin, but especially the new section going out Chillicothe Street towards the Northview. I know you used the grant money from the North End project, but there's giant cracks already in the house. I mean, if we could find a way to seal those to make it last longer than a year or two.
In your packet tonight, we've got an approval for the sealing machine that has been selected.
Well, I didn't know what that was.
That's what that is, asphalt sealing machine. And we can talk about it more when we get there, but it's going to be, we hope to start a sealing program this summer where we seal the cracks in all the newer asphalt to help maintain it longer. So asphalt's going to crack.
Can I ask one more question? Like, so we're doing this first round, it's gonna take a while, but as we hopefully progress where it comes around for the second time, like on East Broadway where they're digging out and you know, doing, I guess, repairing the road bed underneath the asphalt, is that something that maybe going forward as we maybe make it to round 2 on some of these streets that we can invest in, maybe in the trouble areas, like just digging it all up, fixing it, that way it lasts even a little bit longer than, you know, kind of the way it's working now.
That's exactly our plan, to be able to do better repairs the next time.
Gee, he is just reading my mind.
Yep.
That's all I had, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Any other questions for the mayor? Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Schwackhammer.
Yeah, the mayor and I didn't coordinate too well because he took my 2 grants, so that was a couple items I had to talk about. The couple ODOT projects, High Street Bridge, you know, it opened up last year before Christmas. There is a pile of gravel, grind, millings, and dirt there that needs to be removed. I spoke to them again today. I want to get it out of there prior to any flooding that happens this spring. And the signals, they're waiting on some wire that is on back order, and that's really the signals haven't been completed. But there's only about a 2 weeks worth of work to do once that wire comes in. So hopefully we'll get it soon and be able to make the final repairs in the sidewalk and stuff too as we get those old poles out of there. And the next thing coming up is probably this year's projects. We're still working with EDA on getting the final funding dates and getting the requirements that they need so we can do the South Street Water Project, which is also has a sewer lining piece in it from Chillicothe over to Harding. Working on a few more easements to make that happen. And so that's the big projects for this year, other than Hamertown. We'll be meeting with the engineer probably within the next month, once we get these last 2 grants booked away, so we can go ahead. That's on the new boat launch and kayak launch out there, as well as a paving project and just some general upgrades. If you've been out that way, you've probably seen that the bank has been cleaned quite a bit for bank fishing over on the park side. That was one of the things that we had hoped to get to last year, didn't get to, but we've done a good job of cleaning that. We'll get it reseeded here so that we don't have to worry about erosion this spring, and hopefully we'll have a lot of good fish area out there.
Questions for the service director? Mr. Newkirk?
Yeah, I was talking to Steve Van Allen, and he said there will not be no trout turn loose in Hamertown.
Okay. No trout festival this year.
Trout festival.
Okay.
Did he say why? Did he say why?
The lake's too big. It will not be done in Lake Alma either.
The lakes.
Too big.
Getting bigger than what?
They changed their rules and decided that these lakes was too big for the trout.
so we can't have a trout derby this year, or a trout festival. Yeah, that's the first
Catch
I'd
last
heard.
year's. You'll have to catch last year's.
Well, we've done a lot of cleanup out there, making it a lot nicer to fish in preparation for the trout festival, that we just assumed.
You can have a fish day.
Yeah, sure.
Just bass or catfish or whatever.
Okay.
Mr. Bob?
Mr. Schweckhammer, have you had a report of the old light there at Bridge Street and Main Street that's, as you're going towards the city garage, have you had a report about that?
Yeah, it was the one that was hit back in November with the bridge tie coming through.
It's okay, I mean,
Yeah, no, they secured it, and it is one that was scheduled to come out with the signal replacement.
yeah, I just seen it today, how far it's come. I just wondered if it would make it 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, it's been that way since November of last year.
Any other comments for the service director? Thank you, Mr. Schweikhammer.
Oh, I do have one other thing.
Go ahead.
Tonight, you're going to see the Big Red Diamond Club renewal, if, to be taken into consideration. They also was asked if they could use the lobby area of the council chambers again this year on the 16th, 23rd, and 25th. The 16th and 23rd will be from 6 to 8, and the 25th is a Saturday from 11 to 1 to do, set up a couple tables and do sign-ups for the softball and baseball sign-ups. So I was asked to bring that to council's attention if there was any objection to them doing that again this year.
Ms. Coon,
What is,
speak up.
we were told last time we weren't gonna let them because they, like, messed with all of this stuff.
Can we get a, can we
All
get
was
a,
unplugged and the
can we just get
speakers.
a little chain to go across the?
I think we didn't let them up here last year. I think we blocked it
It
off
was
right there.
last year.
Maybe you can come.
I wasn't here.
Oh,
for that.
yes, I'm gonna come sit here every evening.
So they're asking for the lower level.
The lower level,
We'll put something up. We'll create a gate of some type.
okay.
You got the police stations.
So could you
Have a police arrest me.
Could you email me those dates requested so we can get them on this calendar here?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
Thank you. We will then now look at our ordinances and resolutions. Our first is on third reading, and I believe that is ordinance 223. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance repealing and amending the City of Jackson's codified ordinance, Section 179.01, establishing the membership of the Tree Commission.
Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby. Peters.
Yeah.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree. Bott.
Yes.
Ordinance 223 is duly adopted. Next, consideration for second reading would be ordinance 323. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance replacing and amending the City of Jackson electric utility rates as set forth in the City of Jackson codified ordinances as Section 921.06 through 921.10 and declaring an emergency.
Discussion?
Mr. President, I'm assuming Exhibit 1, application for interconnection attachment.
That's 4, I'm sorry.
Oh. Okay, never mind. That's the word.
Other discussion? Any further action to be taken on ordinance 323? Hearing none, this constitutes the second reading of ordinance 323. Next, ordinance 423, second reading. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance adopting policies and procedures for the interconnection of behind-the-meter generators and Schedule SPP small power production electric rate applicable to energy supplied by BTN generators.
Discussion? Any further action to be taken on ordinance 423?
Mr. President, do we need to move anything to add the exhibit, or is it okay?
think it was supposed to be added last time.
Oh, this is just a copy of it. Okay.
Yeah, it just wasn't added to your packets last time.
Other discussion? Any further action on ordinance 423? Hearing none, this constitutes the second reading of ordinance 423. Next, second reading for ordinance 723. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor or service director of the city of Jackson to enter into an agreement with the Teamsters Local Union 637, the bargaining unit for the Jackson police officers, and to execute the contract between the city and Teamsters Local Union 637 as required and declaring an emergency.
Discussion. Mr. Schweikhammer?
Yes, I know this is only the second reading, but based upon the timeline from when it was presented to the city before the next council meeting, the 30 days would come into effect. I really would like to see council pass this so that it shows that it did have the support of council, if that's how council feels. So I'm asking you to waive the third reading and pass it on second.
Other discussion? Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Mr. Andera? Is there a second? Mr. Newkirk? Discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster?
Yes.
Andera?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Bach?
Yes.
Other discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster?
Yes.
Andera?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Bach?
Yes.
Ordinance 723 is duly adopted. Next, on second reading, is ordinance 923. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance of the legislative authority of the city of Jackson, Ohio, to authorize the mayor or his designee, the chief of the Jackson City Fire Department, to enter into a cooperative agreement for wildland fire suppression and declaring an emergency.
Discussion. Any further action to be taken on ordinance 923? Hearing none, this constitutes the second reading of ordinance 923. Next, first reading on ordinance 1023. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance for transfer of funds for the Hammertown Lake Improvements Project and declaring an emergency.
Could I get a motion to adopt ordinance 1023 as presented to council? Mr. Peters, is there a second? Mr. Newkirk? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Reed?
Okay, these are the Hammertown Lake projects that Mr. Schweikhammer was talking about. The money in the general fund is in the transfer out line item that was put in the budget. The city's putting that part of their money in, the $55,000. This and the next ordinance go together. I don't believe there's a great rush because there's probably 6 weeks, so if you want to look it over for a council or two, that's fine to do. So just have a first reading on it tonight is more than fine, I believe, and that's asking Mr. Schweikhammer on that question.
Yeah, no rush.
Other discussion? Any further action to be taken on ordinance 1023? Hearing none, this constitutes the first reading of ordinance 1023. Next, for council consideration, will be ordinance 1123, first reading. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance approving additional appropriations for project expenses in ODNR paddling enhancements, ODNR capital budget, and city funds for Hammertown Lake Improvements Project and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to accept, or, I'm sorry, to adopt ordinance 1123 as presented to council? Mr. Peters, is there a second? Mr. Bob? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Reed?
Again, this is just actually appropriating the monies to the line items. The first two were awards to the city. The second one is the $55,000 that we were just doing. So this goes with the last one, so we should stay as a first reading on this.
Other discussion? Any further action to be taken on ordinance 1123? Hearing none, this constitutes the first reading of ordinance 1123. Next, for council consideration, will be ordinance 1223, first reading. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance creating Fund Number 180, Payroll Clearing Fund, and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1223 as presented to council? Mr. Bob, is there a second? Ms. Colby? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mr. Reed.
This is the fund I was talking about creating, and what this will show, if you look at this fund, it will show everything that is not paid. Currently, if we do a payroll and we take withholdings out, it may be, they kind of hide in the background until they're paid, but they show as paid right at that time, so it messes your books. You don't have an actual expenditure date. This allows us to track it by one fund and clear it to the point that it's still there until we actually, let's say, pay the PERS to pay, send it in. This holds it in the same account, so it makes it all very visible, very easy to track. And if council could pass this tonight, I'd like to, because I'd like to get it set up for the first of this year going forward.
Other discussion? Mr. Peters?
I move to suspend the rules to create the account.
Motion by Mr. Peters to suspend the rules, second by Mr. Andera. Other discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters. Newkirk.
Yes.
Pop.
Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters. Newkirk. Pop.
Ordinance 1223 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, ordinance 1323. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance repealing and amending the City of Jackson's codified ordinance section 131.09 regarding riding in police cars.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1323 as presented to council? Mr. Andera, is there a second? Mr. Newkirk, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mr. Swackhammer.
Yes, this one was one of those where we just thought it needed cleaned up, and also to give the officers on duty a little bit more discretion. A recent example is when we had the extremely low temperatures here in the past month. We had some folks that were trying to walk to and from work late at night, and it was hazardous to their health. And if we would have an officer want to give somebody a quick lift to get them off the streets, we want them to be able to have the discretion of doing that without having to call up and get approval from somebody. So this is just really some wordsmithing and cleaning it up to give a little discretion to our officers when they think it's potentially a harmful situation.
You, Mr. Swackhammer. Other discussion? Any further action to be taken on ordinance 1323? Hearing none, this constitutes the first reading of ordinance 1323. Next, council's consideration, ordinance 1423, first reading. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance amending and repealing ordinance 819 and authorizing a wage increase for the positions of part-time police dispatchers and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1423 as presented to council? Mr. Newkirk, is there a second? Ms. Colby? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mr. Swackhammer.
Yes, as in the police contract, you just recently increased some wages. This one here is one for the part-time dispatchers to bring them up to a level of a probationary dispatcher. Again, no benefits or anything, but just to bring the wage more in line with the duties.
Other discussion? Mr. Swackhammer, this includes the emergency declaration. Are you wanting that to be looked at tonight, or go to first reading and come back?
I think
for
we're
second?
fine with go through the readings.
Any further action to be taken on ordinance 1423? Hearing none, this constitutes the first reading of ordinance 1423. Next, for council's consideration, will be ordinance 1523, first reading. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance repealing and amending the City of Jackson's codified ordinance section 178.04 regarding members of the board of the David Brooks Jones Endowment for the Arts Fund.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 1523 as presented to council. Mr. Peters, is there a second? Ms. Colby? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Evans?
Very minor change here, you see down in that middle paragraph where I can appoint people to this board, endowment board, if they live in the school district rather than just inside the city. This endowment fund, we divvy out to any group who wants to try to promote the arts in the youth, and it's open to the school district, so we thought the board should be open that well as well.
Other discussion? Mr. Peters?
Is this just because you can't find people to serve, or?
Yeah, and in the past, we've had the director of the museum, that's kind of an artsy background, but there's been a change there, and the current director that we would like to put on this board doesn't live in the city, but she does live in the school district.
Other discussion?
I move to suspend the rules so they can.
Is there a second?
I don't think there's an emergency clause here, is there?
There's no emergency clause.
Still suspend rules, it just wouldn't take effect for 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah, you can still pass it on first reading.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion? Mr. Runday? Discussion?
Just doesn't explain. We wait, we read it 3 times, wait 30 days, what's?
Well, if you read it 3 times, you're still gonna have to wait 30 days, so.
Exactly, that's
after
what I'm
that-
saying, so-
After that, so,
Just give you a, hit the ground running here, so you
Yeah.
can get your board.
thank you, thank you.
Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters. Newkirk.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters. Newkirk.
Yes.
Bach.
Ordinance 1523 is duly adopted. Next, we will move to resolutions. Our first resolution on third reading is Resolution 323. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution creating the positions of Operations Manager of IT GIS Technician and declaring an emergency.
Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Resolution 323 is duly adopted. Next, resolutions on first reading, Resolution 823. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution authorizing the mayor or his service director to enter into a non-exclusive 4 seasons lease agreement with the Big Red Diving Club Incorporated, an Ohio not-for-profit corporation for the use of the High Street ball fields and for the organization and operation of the baseball and softball programs for the city of Jackson and declaring an emergency.
Can I get a motion to adopt ordinance 823 as presented to council? Mr. Peters, is there a second? Mr. Bach? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Swackhammer?
Yeah, this old lease actually expired last October, and it kind of slipped through the cracks, and I know the program is well on its way, as I mentioned early. Just wanted to bring it back to council and get approved for not only this year, but next year.
Other discussion?
Yeah, being part of the last agreement, I think we just, and I think Mr. Foster would agree, that we just shortened it to see how it worked out, but it seems like it's working out. See why we should.
Working out very well.
See why we shouldn't extend it. And as far as I can see, nothing really, nothing changed.
No, it changed. Same fields as last year.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules so we can re-enter into this.
Thank you. Mr. Peters, is there a second? Mr. Bach, second? Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Bott.
Resolution 823 is duly adopted. Next for consideration on first reading is Resolution 923. Ms. Coon?
A resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to enter into an agreement for the purchase from DJL Material and Supply Incorporated of a Craftco Super Shot through the State of Ohio Purchase Contract Program for a price not to exceed $56,845 and declaring an emergency.
Could I get a motion to adopt ordinance 923 as presented to council? Mr. Peters, second. Ms. Colby, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discussion, Mr. Swackhammer.
Yeah, the machine that we decided upon is actually the same one that Columbia Gas R&R pipeliners are using. We've had a chance to watch it demonstrated. And the price that we're given is state price, same price that they sold these units to ODOT for.
You sure anything Columbia Gas is not as good?
We looked at actually one that was about 30,000 more, but didn't have a lot of the same options that this one did. So we think we've made the right choice here.
Other discussion, Mr. Peters?
Forgive me for not knowing what a Craftco Super Shot was. Sounds like maybe something that Chief Finch could use.
Does this one have cup holders or anything like that, or is it just?
No, this is a working man's tool.
Oh, okay, all right. Come in different colors?
Other discussion?
Yeah, I move to suspend the rules. We need this for spring.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Rondere. Other discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Bott.
Yes.
Resolution 923 is duly adopted.
That was just suspended rules.
Oh, I'm sorry, let's go again, right?
Yes, we need to go around
Let's-
again.
discussion.
Foster.
Yes.
Go again.
Andera.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Bott.
Yes.
Now, let us say that ordinance 923 is duly adopted. I believe our final resolution for the evening on first reading is Resolution 1023. Ms. Coon?
A resolution of the Legislative Authority of the City of Jackson, Ohio, approving change orders and declaring an emergency.
Could I get a motion to adopt ordinance 1023 as presented to council? Ms. Colby, is there a second? Mr. Rondero, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discussion. Mr. Swackhammer.
Yeah. On the project over on the Mill Street, what we're calling Mill Street Project Phase 3, or actually Phase 1, excuse me. When they first started the project, they found that the elevation of the water line is at the same elevation as the sewer line crossing Athens Street there. So this change order is allowing us to change the elevation of the water line so that the sewer line can keep its, the grade flow it needs to cross under the street. There will be some recouping of some funds of, at the end of the project, because there'll be some deducts that'll come back, but those all come back at the end. But we've got to relocate that water line in order to maintain the grade and flow that we need for that sewer line.
Mr. Rondero?
I'm assuming that the sewer line is flowing deep enough to allow the water line to come up over the top and,
It is.
yeah.
About 8 feet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And they were going to do actually an open cut. They was originally going to do a bore, going to do an actual open cut, just to make sure. Now, if we get in there, and it's so close, if we get in there and we can get by without doing it, of course, this change order won't mean anything. But if it does actually match up to where they believe the measurements are, we'll have a change order in place to go ahead and reroute the water line so we can put the sewer line in.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Mr. Rondero, suspend the rules. Is there a second? Mr. Newkirk, second. Discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Bondera.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters. Newkirk. Pop.
Discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Bondera.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters. Newkirk. Pop.
Yes.
Resolution 1023 is duly adopted. I believe that concludes our ordinances and resolutions tonight, council. I thank you for your diligence with those. Looking on your agenda, there is no correspondence that I have, so we'll skip to old business. Mr. Swackhammer, do you have an update on the community garden?
Yes, if you remember right, Anna and a couple of her students was in last meeting to talk about the community garden. We talked about location, and council was in support of the community garden in the school's class doing it, but agreed that the location that they had originally identified wasn't probably the best. So in talking with her, additionally, we are going to try it on the old DMV lot on Huron. High visibility. We believe that it's closer to the school, and that if it's very successful, it'll be a good addition to that piece of property that the city has. Anna is looking for a sponsor that will help pay for the utilities that we talked about also. She believes that she has someone that is interested in doing that. So that's where we're going to work with them for this year.
There's still water there, I'm assuming, right?
From the old DMV building, yes.
Looks like an excellent location.
Yeah.
It would be.
I seen it the other day.
The only thing I was thinking, it'd be great if we could catch water somehow, but I was driving by there, does the city own that garage at Manpower? Like on the other side of the creek?
The small one there, we do have a small one there, but it wouldn't be convenient for them at that location.
Right, I was just thinking of a way for them to catch water and not have to pay for it, like rainwater. So
Yeah.
Not gonna be.
Because we'd actually even talked about off of the bus garage, right there, much bigger building, much more roof line, but we didn't want the kids crossing Huron Street. It's a very busy street. Yeah, so.
Any other discussions on this topic?
Just thank you, thanks for.
Any other old business to be brought before council? Next, we would look at new business. Any new business to be brought before council? Mr. Rondero?
I mentioned a couple meetings ago about the street light being out down at Vaughn and Huron, and I noticed within a couple of days, we had a new street light, so I appreciate that. But driving in tonight, I noticed on Tropic Street and Vaughn Street, the light is out. So,
Switch to bulbs. Switch to bulbs.
Where do you think we got the bulb from? What'd you say, John?
Tropic and Vaughn. Also, Mr. Folks, I would like to address the council with my resignation from city council. Most of you know I purchased a home in Chillicothe back in the spring, and we have been working to relocate there, and so my resignation will take effect immediately from council, but let me say, I have very mixed emotions about leaving Jackson. Number one, it's been my home most of my life, and I love Jackson. I love the direction that Jackson is going in right now. I think it's moving in a very positive manner, and I pray that it continues to do so. I've enjoyed thoroughly working with this council and with this administration. There's nothing against Jackson. My church family is in Chillicothe. That's primarily why we're relocating there. And we've been traveling back and forth to Chillicothe for church for a number of years, and we've decided that that's a place for us. One of our sons lives over there anyway. And but Jackson will always be home, and we still have business here. My wife's business is being transferred to Chillicothe. Mine will be too, but we'll still be continuing to do business in Jackson, so I'll still keep my license up to date. But no, it's been a great honor to work with this council and this administration, and I know things will continue to move in a positive direction, so thank you for allowing me to be part of it.
Well, Mr. Armendariz, I will say that both personally and on behalf of this board, it's really kind of with a heavy heart that we lose you. You have made some really great contributions, not only to this board in the short time that you and I have worked together here, but over the lifetime of many years outside of this board. So I speak for this board and say we thank you for your service. You know, it is difficult at times to find people to serve. It really is. And it is difficult at times to find good people to serve at times. And I personally thank you for your service to this city.
Thank you.
And you will be missed.
Thank you.
You will be missed. Anything else, new business?
Yes. The tree commission did meet this evening. They are tentatively planning on Arbor Day, which is Friday, April the 28th. Right now, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, doing a program, a presentation down at the Mayor's Orchard. And more to come on that after next month's meeting, but they wanted to extend an invitation to council, to all city officials, if they're available to attend.
I'm sorry, Mr. Schweikheimer, that date was?
That date is April the 28th, which is Arbor Day. Right now, it's tentatively scheduled for 1 p.m. that afternoon. And they've asked the mayor to issue a proclamation, which is part of what is needed for the city to reach the requirements needed to become a Tree City USA town again.
28th of April. We'll make sure we put that on the website, please. Looking forward. Anything else? Mr. Newkirk?
I noticed over on Broadway, over by Felicia's, on the new curbs, there's several places where trucks drove over top of them, coming out like Felicia's into the dirt between the curb and sidewalk. Is there anything we can do about that?
Repair the damage done to the dirt.
You repair it.
I know it's good to see the curbs held up, though.
For now, yeah, it's a shame we can't get more responsible drivers, I guess.
A lot of use and abuse over there, but we're trying to make it look nicer.
Anything else? Also, I do have that next Monday, I believe at 10 o'clock. No, I'm sorry, not next Monday, on the 27th. At 10 o'clock, we have a tourism board meeting. You're in, council.
Hey, Dan, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Actually, a couple more things. Next Monday's a city holiday, so, of course, the garbage will be delayed till Tuesday. So David just reminded me that Monday is President's Day, so city will be shut down. Also, I just wanted to second your thoughts about Councilman Ondara and thanking him again. When I was running for mayor is when he announced he wasn't running for council anymore, and I hated to see him go then. I've known John, all my adult life at least, and thought he'd done a really good job as council before. He's not afraid to speak his mind, and I admire that, and take a side. He'll take a stand when needed, and I admire that too. But once I became mayor, I sure was glad to get him back on council, and I sure hate to see him go now. But best wishes and best of luck to him and his wife. We're losing her too, by the way. His wife Beverly was on the tree commission, so we're losing the pair, and we don't like that at all, but we understand their situation and wish them the best.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
But one more thing, I appreciate you too. Always good to debate. We sometimes agree to disagree, and we'll miss you.
Thank you, thank you.
Anything else, new business? Hearing none, I think we are scheduled for executive session at this point.
Yeah, I'll move to go to executive session to conference with Mr. Kirby concerning disputes involving public body that are subject to pending or imminent court action. I would ask that everybody here at the table stay, including Mr. Hench, Chief.
Is there a second for that motion?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Andera, second. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes?
Andera.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Bach.
We will adjourn to executive session. It is 7:55. Mr. Wilson, Margaret, I do not foresee any legislation coming out after we come back in, after the session.
Thank you.
Jerry.